When we last left off, the rung of Mega Man 9 had been climbed, and in less than 2 years after that game's release, we were treated to Mega Man 10, which garnered a much more measured, perhaps even slightly jaded response, reflecting the troubles to come from a seemingly fickle audience and a company that would face plant into concrete from the diving board. Capcom went right into delivering us a game that can segue nicely into the X series, with some of the elements going on here. I know, I've said this before, but a game that ties those two series together could effectively end the Blue Bomber interest, potentially. However, Capcom seems rather set on milking the Blue Bomber series instead of giving us that sweet, succulent tie-in. Sure, fan-made games like Mega Man Unlimited had a fantastic way of doing that, but like I've suggested before, make Mega Man fight against being sent to the scrap heap. Something a little different. That'd be nice. Anyway, since this video is theoretically a time capsule before the robotic hellscape of the future being bathed in nuclear fire, we had a stretch of time where we dealt with a plague of sorts. And that's what Mega Man 10 dives into. Robo-Enza is wreaking havoc on the robots, and this time, Dr. Light and Dr. Wily team up as Mega Man goes about trying to reclaim Dr. Wily's medicine machine to possibly cure this very proto-Maverick sort of thing which haunted Zero in the X series. Anywho, evidently Dr. Wily wasn't fully prepared, or perhaps he utilized what he learned from this experiment. Either way, Mega Man 10 jumps off into what the Mega Man series should have started doing more of, which is provide difficulty settings and the option to play as Proto Man. Sure, why not? Or better yet, you did add another character in there. Let Bass play a little bit more. I mean, sure, he was DLC to begin with, but you also get lots of bells and whistles with a good deal of extra stuff in the Legacy Collection. Bonuses are a tasty side dish, but what of the main meal? To be fair, this is just going over the normal setting of it, not necessarily the game on hard, because I'm a slouch, I guess. You know what? I actually like this boss. And everyone who bleated about Sheep Man being stupid can look at Hornet Man, whose name carries more sting than anything. Or maybe Toad Man from Mega Man 4. How about Clown Man from 8? I don't know. I think there's just, because of the fervor that 9 rejuvenated in the retro game scene for a little bit, and whatnot, there were a lot more eyes on, a lot more mouths able to say something about it. So Sheepman got a lot more flack. Anywho, he's not the worst. Sure, it's a leap with the computer aesthetic and the static shock, but no, not anywhere near the worst of this series. And also, while I'm not that familiar with the X series games, the levels theme strikes up what I've very little played of Cyber Peacocks. More importantly, where Mega Man 9 went with tight, concise levels, 10 opted a bit more of a meandering style. At least that's how the stage feels to me. Very open and lots of random little flares like those treadmills and platforms. The theme, I love it. It starts off with this glitchy sort of mess, but it fits really well with the visual thing they've got going for it. I could easily hear something like this fitting in maybe something like Mega Man 5 or 6. As for the fight, it's not too tough, but it keeps you moving about, which I can appreciate. As for Thunderwool, well, a lot of the weapons this time around will have this knack for being less direct, or will need some sort of subterfuge to get the best out of them. It's an interesting approach for a game that's generally about you shooting directly at something, plus being able to change special weapons and rush on the fly is amazing, even though I am utter trash at doing it. Anyway, Thunderwool is a darn good weapon, if you can get the hang of its timing. Unfortunately for this playthrough, I did not. Odd but cool to hear Yuko Takehata return to compose the track for Pump Man stage. Not quite the earworm that the Mega Man 6 soundtrack was, nor Boomer Kuwanger's theme, but solid nonetheless. The stage is in the dumps with some water mechanics and metals that are fine with slicking Mega Man up instead of damaging him outright, which is kind of nice. 2 paths to go, neither one feels that much easier, which is nice in a way. I don't know, I don't fall down and go the lower route, I usually go the other way. I don't know, maybe I'm just being wimpy. As for the fight, you're better off playing it close to mid-range against Pump Man. I don't know, it's kind of a neat distance bit with it where it just works better that way, I think. On hard, I know he likes to throw that handle, which can really muck things up. At least on normal, that's how you go about it. As for the water shield, I like the idea of a slower startup shield, but the damaging portions they're a bit beyond me. Feels like half the attacks are hitting during the iframe portion, and the projectile portion has a particular curve to itself which can be a bit maddening. Next up on the list is Solar Man, with a fun stage with some verticality to it. The fire pumps, conveyor belts, the flower robots that shoot rays are neat and make this a solid stage. It's not overly long and with enough pauses in action to not feel too tough. The theme is my favorite of the Robot Masters, just a great tune all around, and really pushes this OST to higher levels. As for the fight with Solar Man, it's something, but it does feel a bit like it's a sloppy evolution of Magma Man's fight. Solar Blaze is something I feel is really weak to me, but I do like that it's a floating bomb that detonates into a line attack on contact or after enough time has passed. No penguin nor man will stop Mega Man nor X, but golly gee do I hate this stage. It's sort of like Blizzard Man's from Mega Man 6 and Gemini Man's from 3 stages melded together into this abomination. It's got ice physics, timed bombs for a moment, and ice blocks that break, which makes the last portion of this somewhat shorter stage a slog, as the mini pitfalls will get you. It's just grumpiness aside, the theme is a solid track, even if I feel the chilliness of the stage doesn't quite come across. Feels more oceanic to me. That's kind of nitpicking. The fight is also a tough one to me. I'd say it's the toughest Robot Master, but there's just something that trips my brain up every time I fight him. That or I'm really unlucky, which could easily be it. Anywho, Chill Spike is like Concrete Shot, but not nearly as overpowered. The spike damage is a nice touch, especially when used against another Robot Master. Gonna reveal something about myself here, but my dumbass swears this was just another refight with Turbo Man for the longest time. I don't know why, but yeah, I mean, they're kinda similar. Anywho, Nitro Man's stage is one that I like. To combat its relatively straightforwardness, there are trucks coming and going, which is alright. The look of the night and absolute stellar theme makes this somewhat like a Dr. Wily light stage. I dig it. As for the fight itself, if you're lucky or good enough, there's a cool pattern of having Nitro Man run over the spikes, but if you're like me, you can just brute force it without too much difficulty. Wheel Cutter is spiffy, and I love how it can be used to climb walls. It feels slightly underutilized, partially because of completing Solar Man stage beforehand on this run, but perhaps that's just me. I like when they do this with, oh, here's a weapon, but then there's a secondary effect that you can use it for. Always a fun, nifty thing. Commando Man stage is another melding one to me. You have Pharaoh Man's from 4 and then Napalm Man's from 5. It's an alright stage. The bombs coming up from the pitfalls is annoying, but I do like the parts of the sweeping sand, even though they sometimes overlap. It may not be to everyone's liking, but I like sand. Even if it's coarse and gets everywhere. The song isn't bad, but it's not making me energetic. As for the fight itself, it's an enjoyable one, even if I am trash at it. From dodging bombs and their explosions to dealing with being staggered from Commando Man landing, it's a good fight. Commando Bomb is one of those weapons, if you can tolerate having to navigate it once it's fired, it'll do wonders for you. However, I'm not one of those people. Up next is Blade Man, and not the one from the DOS version. What feels like an alternative to Nightman from 6. This castle stage is alright, but its hand-lever railed trolley-looking gimmick is more annoying than interesting to me. Especially since robots respawn at annoying parts, and oh, that last one has a tricky spot that will get you if you're not prepared. The tune isn't bad, it makes me think of 6's soundtrack, but not sure why. I don't know, there's just something about it. Maybe it's because it's taking place in a stage that looks like it could just easily fit into that game. Anyway, Blade Man's fight's alright. Not too hard, though I definitely missed the slide at some points fighting him. Be patient, and it's a fairly easy fight to contend with. Triple Blade is the strong weapon this time around for this game, I feel like. Probably as it's so much more direct than all the others. There's no crying in baseball, and quite frankly, it's about time they infused more stuff going on around the world, instead of just, oh, there's Wood Man, oh, there's Metal Man, oh, there's Snake Man, Toad Man. I'm all for this. I think it's cool to have leisure activities being represented more in the game. As for the baseball stage itself, it's a bit of a doozy. It really feels stretched out, probably due to too many bosses, but there's a lot going on, from the robot baddies to the soccer balls needing shot to be lifted in the air, and just general busyness of the stage. I don't know, it's got a lot going on, and it feels like a fairly lengthy stage. The tune, while partly silly for a stretch, is really good, though not nearly to the same level as Solar or Nitro Man's stage. The fight is... I mean, if you're using Blade Man's weapon, there's not really much of a fight. It's alright. As for the weapon, Rebound Striker is okay as it bounces to gain power. It's like a weaker version of the Gemini laser from Mega Man 3. That, I guess, would technically get stronger? I don't know, but it plays like the Gemini laser from Mega Man 3. Surprise! Wily was behind Robo-Enza. Mega Man gets sick, but Roll gives up her medicine for him, and it's off to take down Wily. The first stage has a great start. Rainy, not much of an impressive tune, but to me it has a nice spot of tension. That probably could have been used later to better effect, like Mega Man 2. I think the proper tune for the remainder of the stage is Beastly, as you'll be given a fight to battle through, not only throughout the stage's normal parts, but there are 3 different fights, each with 3 different robot masters from throughout the series. Not nearly as painful as the revisits done in Mega Man 3, but they can be trouble. Stage 2 probably has my favorite stage theme in the whole game. It has a lot of its own dangers, including these crushers with their own odd timing. It's a stage that certainly tries to play into the notion of getting you to use up your weapon energy, though they usually have plenty to cover the costs. The boss is an enemy crab that's not too annoying. Stage 3 is alright. The elevators are what they decided after the gravity portion in Mega Man 9, I guess, which are meh. Certainly quicker, or at least feels quicker, but not, it's whatever. Another trolley bit, which is underwater and makes me miss Rush Marine. The stage does feel like a drop-off from Mega Man 9's Stage 3. Even the boss seems a bit of a letdown, but I also do not like Block Devil or the Devil fights in general, so that could just be on me. Stage 4 refights after a climb. It's weird that the robot masters aren't mixed around this time. What they were when you fought them the first time on the choice screen is at the same location. That's just kind of a weird thing. I don't know if they just didn't feel like mixing them up or whatnot. And then we get a Pirate Wily, which was possibly my favorite Wily fight, at least the theme. The theme is really good. I like the theme a lot. It's not too tough of a 2-part fight, but get too sloppy and it can become an issue. Stage 5 has a great setup as Mega Man takes a space elevator to Dr. Wily's space station. Space! Which is, whatever, the drill bits are annoying but manageable. It's short and the fight with the Wily capsule isn't too tough. I like how the real Dr. Wily sneezes, so you can, if you have a hard time seeing the difference in the coloring of the clone Wily and the real Wily, you can at least pay attention to that. Mega Man, being the autist robot that he is, believes Dr. Wily has Robo-Enza, but he claims he has a fever, gets treated, and flees away, leaving behind the medicine needed to cure Robo-Enza. The end. But shouldn't Otto get more of a look? He seemed to avoid the whole plague, so I'm kind of curious what Otto did, but if anything, be more like Otto, I guess. While I still enjoy this one, it has slid a bit closer to 9 than I used to feel about it. Not sure why, but it is what it is. There's not a heavy thematic play with the robot masters all around, which doesn't necessarily bother me, but it also makes sense as a plague ravaging a world so poorly equipped to live without robots affects everything. A stretch, maybe, but I'll buy it. The weapons are, like I said before, more about want indirect use than direct, which is weird when the shield weapon seems to have a better direct shot than most. The utility is more about being clever and tactical than simply punching right through. Maybe that's why I like this one a lot more, at least at the time when I was first playing it. It could be that because I've really slacked on it and I'm not nearly as good at it, it's slid in my appreciation. It does make me play differently than I usually do, like some dumb brute. It's usually how I play it. The music has some stellar tunes, but also some very wanky lows. Like I said before, the ability to toggle through special weapons and rush is so nice and helps speed up the gameplay. It's a small, very tiny evolution and step, but it's one that is so much better for it. They did it in 11 with the joystick as well, where you could just kind of rotate it, which is an even better step. So look, they took that idea and made it even better for 11. For me, this game is like a nice hike up a tall hill. It might be tricky at first, but once you get the groove of it, you'll be coasting even before you reach the summit. Of Cyber Peacocks. Of Cyber Peacock. Why can't I say that word? Of Cyber Peacocks.